Hey folks, how are we? Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Thanks a lot for joining on board. Hope everyone's having an awesome week. As for things from their playbook, I've got something amazing to share with you today, and I'm glad you guys are asking. I want to share with you how deep down this rabbit hole the whole scam is. So, two things for today. I feel like sometimes when I do my lives, it's like I've got two different personalities. I feel like I've got two different stories I want to share with everyone. One is what's happening out in the property world, right? And for me, I think that's just happening. It's just things that go on, which is the property, and that's the really cool part about it. But it's the deeper down to the roots is why is the property going up? Why is the assets going up? What is sort of happening out there? So I've got some really interesting things to share with you. Not my typical sort of news pieces, but I'm going to share some really interesting things that I've found out there over the last week. Since we last caught up, some people are saying potentially World War III is happening. I think we were already in World War III beforehand when we look at what's happened the last 3 years, going on 4 years with us, but potentially a war, a hot war, shots fired, whatever, terrorism allegedly. Maybe we shouldn't say that, otherwise we'll get shadow banned on here. But there's things that are in the media, there's things that aren't talked about in the media, and I want to deep dive into some of that stuff today. But firstly, let's talk about Mr. Sleazy. Look at this guy. What a miserable looking bloke. Anyway. Have you found this weird that you've got I'm politically atheist, right? And it's weird that, you've got that guy, the geriatric gets wheeled out in the US, and you've got this guy, got a few brain cells short. They're all avatars, they're all puppets that are sit there to do an agenda. And anyway, we had that voice the other day, and I didn't get into it beforehand. I could have got into it, but anything I say doesn't change the part of the world. It's just interesting when you sit back and see things that have come to fruition, which I'm pretty excited to see that what happened. Other people might be upset, but let's just have a look at this. Let's just hop straight into it. Let's not get shadow banned here. Here's the seats of the biggest Indigenous population. So it's quite funny. So I spent a fair bit of time out in rural Australia and seeing these sorts of things. I've got lots of infrastructure in native First Nations, as they wish to call Aboriginals today, right? I'm not trying to be un-PC or PC, but I find it interesting that these locations that I wanted to share, they're just something I realised as the night went on. I didn't get too caught up because I realised that these things are selection. They're already going to happen. If they're going to happen, they're going to happen. So nothing I can do to control it, and our one little vote won't really have much to do. But anyway, these are seats with the largest Indigenous population, and look at the spread of the no's. So if the largest Aboriginal demographics voted no, you should be questioning why they're pushing it if they don't want it, and why would they do it? And a few people here are saying World Economic Forum and all that sort of stuff, which this guy is definitely one of those puppets, right? Definitely one of those puppets. But what I've found has been seen, just weird articles out there. It says here, the New South Wales Premier leaves the door open to a state voice despite the referendum defeat. People voted. They had their bid. But now they're pushing it down your throat, right? We're going to do it again. Adelaide's going to, South Australia's going to do it. New South Wales, we're going to do it state-based. So whichever way they're going to try and do it, they're going to try and force this stuff in, right? They're going to try and force this stuff. And you've got to be asking you questions, right? 200 million years of Aboriginals on this land. We came and took it over 200 years ago, whatever. These guys are saying no because they know that they're getting rolled. It's not a political, they're just a bunch of actors that are put there as avatars to do certain things, to put the agendas. It's a selection. I just found it interesting. I'm about to show you guys a video which I saw the other day, which just going to cancel a call here. I'm going to share with you guys a video, and this is, you may have remembered this video because it was a very famous video from about 12 months ago or 2 years ago. I'm just going to share it with you. Maybe we can be a bit interactive with this one. This is very off topic, but very fitting for the world that we live in. So just bear with me. Who remembers this video clip from Afghanistan. Who remembers this video? Here we are. That's the video. It was about 2 years ago. It was on The Guardian. The Guardian here is the page. People already, right? The video and painted windows. So here's the video. This is from 2 years ago. This is on The Guardian News. I like my rap songs. Whoa. We're doing a freestyle there. Pop the wrong button. But if we have a look at it here, The Guardian. This is the official Guardian YouTube channel. And they play that video. And I thought something was very odd. I was like, oh, poor people. They're killing them, whatever. You watch it and that. And let me tell you, when I talk about this stuff, I'm not talking about it because I'm some conspiracy theorist. I'm talking about it because I like asking questions. I want to know why things work in a certain way. I want to know why when I was on TV over 100 times, why when I used to host TV shows, right? There was always teleprompters, and you could never talk about what you wanted to talk. We couldn't have conversations like we'd have freely. And it was because it was for the lobbyists. It was because it was for a Labor campaign. It was because of something else. And very, very interesting. So I question everything. But this one here really takes the cake. So people will just think, okay, we've got four Afghanis, they're leaving the country, whatever. The question that I asked when I first saw this is why didn't the plane, like I've got a great imagination, why don't we see the plane take off and all the people falling off as it goes through the sky? I always thought that. And just bear with me because I might sound like a psychopath, a sociopath or something like that. But I want to share with you this reel that I found the other day, and it made me look at this. So when I go into this reel, it says it's false information, fact checkers.
The world is indeed a stage.
Watch this.
Just how much of it might be a bit surprising to you. So you all remember this famous scene here, the Afghan pullout, that famous debacle. Do you guys notice anything strange about that C-17? Let's watch that full clip and see if you can notice it. Do you see it? Blacked out windows, blacked out engines. Here's a little bit more. See, this is what a C-17 that's not an inflatable looks like. See the windows clearly, see the engines clearly. And now look again for some more fakery. Take all the time you need. Fake news, fake history, fake...
They're inflatable, folks. They're inflatable.
A big, giant stage. An illusion by those in charge, made to instill fear to easily control the masses or to invoke fake outrage. Just wait till you see how fake the clowns are that run the show. The world is indeed a stage.
Go research it. Go look at it. Go look at the windows. The windows are blacked out. The flame propellers are blacked out. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And when I saw that, I was like, fuck. Like, we could go on to moon landing. We can go into September 11. We can go on to talk about lots of different things. And if we look at September 11, and I'll probably get shadow banned for this anyway, I'm not going down too far of a rabbit hole tonight, folks. Just bear with me. Yes, a building came down. Yes, people died. Yes, all that happened. No, question about that. But how did it happen? This talks about, was there explosive? Was there different people? Everyone puts their finger at one person and say, it was this person's fault. And it was everyone was taught hate about Muslim, and everyone was taught hate about the Middle East and weapons of mass destruction and all these things over the years. And the hate and division that was out there. And reality was it really those folks that did the attack? And you look at what's happening out there. Since our last Facebook Live, some certain things have happened out there. Innocent people have died and perished and all that sort of stuff. Can you trust what's being put in front of you? That's a question that I ask everyone. So, yes, a lot of people might be fearful that we're heading into unknown territory and all this sort of stuff, but the whole TV set is a hoax. Anything that's coming from you, from the media, from your government, if you go back to history or history and realizing what government means, government is mind control, right? And basically it's a control of our mind and the control of our thoughts. And the whole infrastructure that we've got is there to keep us trapped, to keep us in that system. And now I'm seeing all this stuff, whether it be everyone out there. I remember when I went to go vote, There was no people there. It was all yes people, right? And the people had the same logos as Agenda 2030. The same people had the same logo, the colour scheme. Just think about it, right? Indigenous folk, Aboriginal folk, First Nation folk, right? Their colours are black and red and yellow and those sort of colours. They're not pinks, purples, greens, rainbows. We see rainbows on different things. We see, we look at the Agenda 2030. We look at different other style colours that they're using. And there's no alternative. It's just they're trying to push it down our throat to take on a new system because the system is growth. And we're going to see more extreme things blow up. And I've got to watch my words when I say blow up nowadays. But if we look back in the GFC, what occurred, what black swans were there, if we look at the dot-com bubble, and then the next one, those buildings went missing. Where's the war coming from? Where is it going to work? Who's the power play here, right? Who's taking the land grab? Where's the land grab coming from? They're the things you need to be questioning. And I'm not getting into one side or the other or one location or another. It's sad on all fronts. Violence isn't good. But they're just innocent people that are caught up in those videos that I shared with you. There's like 200 Afghanis running towards this plane and jumping on it. The 200 Afghanis that were in that video on the news website, they are all actors. They are all actors, right? This whole thing is a stage. The whole thing is a stage. So just be mindful of that. And the reason why I share it with you is because fundamentally, the whole system's broke. You look back at 2001. What happened after that? We had the biggest boom the world had ever seen. We look back at 2007 and 8. What happened after that? The biggest boom the world had ever seen. We look at 2020. What happened after that? Right? The biggest boom the world had ever seen. We're here in 2023. They blamed it on China. They blamed it on Russia. Right? They blamed it on chips missing out of your car. They blamed it on a lot of things. And there's always that enemy. So it's never we did this wrong or whatever. It's the controlling hands in the system. So just need to be very mindful as to what's coming through in the media, what's coming through the news. Yeah, so let's get amongst it. Here's some news items. I'm only going to I'll go the first one. Once again, our digital currency, right? Everyone's going, we've got to love our world savior, Elon Musk. Let's have a green car. Let's have green energy. Let's do the thing for the economy and the world, the environment. That's the word I'm looking for. And get an electric car. Those electric cars, what are you going to plug them into? How are you going to get about it? It's a control mechanism. You take away the cash, you take away the checks, you take away anything outside of that system, and then you're trapped inside that system. You can't ever exit that system. So strapping checks, right? Another thing that's out there. We'll look at what's happening here just around the world. This is another article here about what's happening. Poor things, right? Let's see what they're blaming on here. Vulnerable to shocks. The RBA is warning to Australians at risk of financial ruin amid a cost of living and housing crisis. Poor people, right? People are the ones that always get hurt. That's what happens. That's the system. It's the controllers, the rulers that comes through. The cost of living and housing crisis. An alarming new report from the Reserve Bank of Australia shows there are 6 months going to be very tough for many of us. The Reserve Bank has a stark warning about the number of Australians at risk of finding disrepair in the months ahead, with a spike in homeowners falling behind in their mortgage repayments, skyrocketing interest rates, the cost of living crisis of decimated household budgets in the past 18 months, seeing many forced to deplete their savings to get by, and it's taking the power away from the people. The money is nothing. It's just a belief system out there. That's what money is. So people are losing their money. So then they'll have no money. So they'll be at mercy of the system. The system can give them extra control mechanisms, can make things a lot tougher for people. Rising number of Aussies, financial stress. A report showed no more people falling behind. We read that already. A small but rising cohort are now on the cusp of early stage of financial stress. I never imagined that. Where are we here? National Debt Helpline. The RBA concedes there are risks ahead. The vast majority of mortgage holders have been able to continue meeting ever higher repayment costs, but they've been forced to make significant sacrifices. So think about it this way, right? I look at cars often, right? And cars now are falling in value. So the cars that that are out there, everyone's like, oh, the car, that's the 1600, it's worth this, and it's gone up, it's done this. There's no one out there to buy cars now because no one's got any money. And this is how trickle-down economics works, because now that there's no liquidity in the system, everything's starting to seize up. And how do they get more liquidity? They've got to find a way to inject this liquidity somewhere amongst the system, whether it be selling arms, selling weapons, whether it be buying stuff, blowing out government budgets to try and get that liquidity in the system to go around. The system is bust, it's kaput, just like those war tanks that we saw beforehand. So people it says here in this part, this is because some houses have gained additional work, reduced discretionary consumption, or drawn on savings buffers. The income and savings positions of borrowers have allowed most to continue to meet their essential expenses and mortgage payments. Very few have fallen behind on their loan repayments or sought temporary loan modifications. In the event the borrowers become unable to service their loans, only a small amount would be negative equity on their mortgages. As a result, losses to lenders are expected to remain low and manageable. Many Australians are able to squirrel away savings, and borrowers are sitting on decent levels of equity in their homes, meaning most will remain placed to manage the impact of higher inflation. So they're saying that even though things get tougher, you lose your savings and all that, you've still got equity in your home, so you can go and get that equity out. But if you don't service with that equity, then that's a different story. But it's looking for those little bits in between. But the rise of the working poor, charities say they're shocked by the volume of requests to help from Australians who are employed full-time and have otherwise strong household incomes. St Vincent de Paul in New South Wales said its members have provided assistance to 86,000 across the state so far this year. We're seeing a new demographic of people turning to charities for support over the past 18 months, as St Vinny's New South Wales spokesperson said. It has been very concerning to see a growing number of people in employment and families on dual incomes reaching out in a time of desperation because of cost of living. Historically, the people who sought assistance have faced more acute and visible forms of hardship and homelessness. However, in recent months, the more increased demand of assistance, people's stable work has been quite alarming. So it just goes to show that we're now in a position where the average working family has to go to places like St Vincent de Paul and all that. So there becomes a point when something snaps, and that would be like September 2007, October 2007, and whenever there's a financial crisis, it always happens around the September, October sort of months, because that's when reporting comes out and fears come out and liquidity gets drawn and all that from global markets. So it's just an interesting point in time. And a lot of people think, when's the crash going to happen? When the house price is going to fall? And it's not happening because there's other levers at play here. So we think interest rates is one thing, but reality of it is it's just lifestyles which are being suppressed here. What I mean by that is people can't afford the second car, people can't afford to not work two jobs, etc., etc. But is that going to stop the market from going up? Well, we've just brought in 600,000 people to this country this year, and we'll probably get to 800,000 over the course of 2023 and 2024. It's just looking at the demographics that are out there and their stats from the government, from their own, the belly of the beast. So if we look on the back of that, we think, what does 800,000 people look like over 2 years? You've got the builders going broke, no one can get loans, less houses coming out of the ground, etc., etc. The size of 600 or 800, let's go around location, just ones that I've got at the top of my head here. Northern Territory, 200,000 people. The Queensland, Southeast Queensland corridor, about 500,000 people. Townsville, 200,000 people. Tasmania, or in Hobart, 200,000 people in the city. So we're looking at like four large capital city or four large cities of new population coming to the country. And no one's talking about that as an issue. And I see these are just posts, right? These are just posts from people out there. And this one here is from SQM Research. It says media release. Australian residential property rental vacancy fall back to 1.1%. The largest falls in rental vacancies recorded for regional Australia. Surprise, surprise. Right? You always want to be at the party before it starts, because then you can pick up who wants to go to the party when the lights come on, and all the good-looking girls have gone home, and you pick up the dregs at the back of the club. I don't even go to clubs, but anyway. That's where the market's at. Who wants to be at the party beforehand? After it. We're sitting here looking at rents rising. You want to be there before things happen. And the writing is on the wall of where opportunities are and what is happening, what's coming to us now. So it says here, combined national rents rise at 1.6% for the past 30 days to October the 12th. Gives a link to the article there. And this one here, I think this is some politician or something, I don't know this bloke, but he's commentating on it. Here's the post here, it's off Twitter. It says here, the national rental market continues to tighten, and going forward, based on falls in rental listings in October to date, we could see a record low in rental vacancy rates, currently standing at 1% for this present month. Current net overseas arrivals is suggesting the population expanding at an annual rate of some 650,000 people, which obviously is keeping pressure on the national rental market, especially given only 175 new dwellings have been completed for the last 12 months. Where's the other 475,000 people going to go, right? There's a big place. So if you try driving down the M1 in the Gold Coast, you'll see, for some reason my screen's flickering now. I don't know why. I think it's all in here. But anyway, apologies for that if you're seeing that on your side. If you see the traffic jams, you see the infrastructure, that's the Gold Coast. You've got the Gold Coast, so sky rises. You've got from Tweed Heads all the way to Brisbane. You've got like 500,000 people for it. I don't even know the exact number. Maybe someone will put it in a post. You've got that sort of amount of shortage just in 12 months. You literally have to build the excess loss of properties, the net negative position of property. You need to build the Gold Coast to hold these people. Oh, it's going to be fun. Says here, what is noteworthy in September was the return to very tight rental conditions for Australian regional townships. It would suggest the population overflow is making many look once more to areas outside the capital cities in order to find shelter. Going forward, the market may find some seasonal relief after October. However, it is unlikely rental growth will pause. Exactly. Nate says here, love my regional areas, but I bought before the lights came on. Exactly. You want to be there before the party starts. You don't want to be leaving. You don't want to be arriving to the party at 3 a.m. in the Luke, yes, 2 a.m. ugly lights. You don't want to be there at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to pick up whatever you can on the dance floor. And that's where I feel all the people that are purple hair, angry, yelling, it's the landlord's fault, it's this person's fault, it's that person's fault. The writing's on the wall. There's going to be strong hands, there's going to be weak hands. They can say it's this person, they can say it's that person. The media can come out and say whatever they want. But facts, stats, they don't lie, right? Numbers don't lie. That's the really cool part. So just understand those numbers out there. It's an exciting time to be alive. A lot of people are scared, and a lot of people are excited. Every month I get the opportunity to put up rents around the country. I'm waiting for, ABC or someone to come out and go, this guy's a prick, right? Or whatever, right? How dare he, right? But I get the opportunity to put up rents for owners, right? They're people that have bought the properties and it's just market. And when I put the rent up, it says here, Basting says, what's the moral of the story? I don't like rate hikes. Exactly. No one likes rate hikes, but it's a part of the system. No one likes rental hikes. They've printed too much, I was going to say money, but it's not money, it's currency. They've printed too much currency. That's causing massive inflation. They're trying to control inflation, which they can't control inflation. They'll have to print more money and create even more inflation to fix this problem, which I spoke about 5 years ago. If you're new around here, go check my videos from 5 years ago because I spoke about all this stuff happening. And the thing is that inflation is just a part of the system. So you can either let it steamroll you or you can participate in it. And a lot of people say, I hate the bankers or whatever the case may be. And I talk about it. I expose the truth of what's controlling our economy and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, if these people or entities didn't create this game for us to play at, we wouldn't have a table to be sitting at. You guys wouldn't be sitting here going, I'm going to buy rental properties and retire off them because the money being manipulated is what's causing that to occur. So you want to make sure that you're treating your business well. As being a property investor, you want to make sure that those rents are going up on a regular basis. You want to make sure that you're getting the cash flow that you need. Every $50, if you've got 10 properties, $50, that's $500 a week. That's 26 grand a year. That's half a basic salary. It's a middle class salary one day out of 5. So you can it's 20% of your salary sort of thing on a middle class salary of Australia. So it's important to make sure you're adjusting those rents accordingly. And I'm seeing rental increases that are absurd out there, right? But I'm so excited because of my investors. I see some of my portfolios, and I've helped out 15,000 properties in the last 15 years of doing this business. So me having personal contact every day, week, month with every investor, I try to keep in contact as much as I can with you guys. But if I don't, I look at when I'm putting up your rents and I'm like, wow, I remember this guy bought 15 properties going back 6 years ago. And it was like, oh, it was tough at the time or whatever the case may be. But those properties that you bought for 200 grand, that are renting for $300 a week, that are going up massively at the moment, $300 a week rent going to $600 a week, that's an extra $300 a week. A lot of areas in the Gold Coast, a lot of areas in Brisbane, a lot of areas in Sydney. Basting said here, Homebush is ridiculously expensive. I just put some rents up in Homebush, which were $400 a week up to $600 per week. I put some exactly where I'm sitting is going where all these locations, they were being laughed at, spat on. The boat has sailed for those opportunities because if you're paying $600,000 at the Gold Coast for a property that rents for $600 a week, you've got risk baked into that cake. But there's still opportunities out there, and people are still taking advantage of those markets. So I guess it's just a matter of finding those opportunities, identifying them, making them happen. Nate says here, 6 years held a property purchased for 100 grand, now getting $300 per week, still $50 to $70 under market. Tenants should be happy. Exactly. You're providing a service, you're providing accommodation, a roof over their head. If they don't like it, then they can go and buy. But unfortunately, they can't buy, then they're stuck with the renting position. And then, that's what the market is. So you need to be on top of your. It's like having a takeaway shop, and then you don't adjust your prices with inflation, and you don't want to sell a hamburger for $10 and a bag of chips for $5, and you're keeping it at $2 for a bag of chips and $5 for a hamburger, and suddenly you're going bankrupt because you haven't adjusted and managed your business property, and you're doing yourself no favour because then you're out of business, and then the market is missing you as a person inside the market. So if you couldn't afford your property, or you didn't do the thing by keeping your rents up, then your tenants will have less opportunity to be renting a property, and that means the rents will even get further impacted and go up. So whichever way you look at it, it's a fantastic time to be alive, for most of you guys. So on that note, that was my rant. That was my thought about what's happening in the world with the news, the media, and be really conscious and ask questions about the things that are being told to us. I want to talk about a very important thing, and a lot of people don't realise this time of year. The heading of this is to prepare yourself for Christmas bargains, and people are like, well, what do you mean the Christmas bargains? Is the market going to crash? Is there going to be great opportunities out there? Is there something I'm not seeing out there? No, it's just a typical thing that happens. Where we're at the moment. We're middle of October, so we've got October, November, December. So we're 2 months away from everyone going on holidays and whatever, right? What do? They get drunk for the first half of December, and then the second half of December they do nothing, and then the first half of January they're out at the beach or something, and then the second half of January they're walking into the new year. So there's 2 months out of your 12 months which sort of disappear. There is a severe lack of stock. This may not occur this year because I'll share with you what I'm seeing out there in the market at the moment. But every year I see that around this time of the year that you've got owners that want to sell. There's a lot of people doing it tough out there, right? Just like those news articles. So look for the opportunity. The news articles there, everyone's doing it tough, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's people that want to sell, but then at the same time, you've got people going, oh, I'll wait until the Luke just asked if I do the 12 days of Christmas, right? Maybe. But let's do a 12 day of Christmas. I'll make a little note for that. So if one of my team are watching this, let's do a 12 day of Christmas and do some cool deal stuff out there. But the deals that are out there, I find that it's a great time of the year because everyone's thinking about getting drunk, getting a Christmas party, buying presents, getting caught up in their stupid shopping centre, being caught up in consumerism, all that sort of stuff. People think about the holiday, people are not there, people are thinking about getting drunk and hooking up with their colleague at their Christmas party and, stuffing the turkey, who's going to come around this year, whatever the case. What's that? I don't understand that last one about the 40K there. That's I don't understand. Maybe a bit more context on that. I don't understand that. So yeah, looking at this time of the year, there's people that are motivated to sell, but there's a little lack. So it's a great time. It's a great opportunity. I remember I was doing a barbecue. It was New Year's Eve. I had all my family at my holiday house, and was cooking a barbecue. Everyone was on the beach, and they having fun. I had the phone to my ear, doing deals. I wrapped up a bulk deal last year, the year before last. It was New Year's Eve. Wrapped up a mad bulk deal. Those properties like 100 grand below market value. That deal would not have occurred on a normal time, but it was New Year's Eve. It just happened. It happened. So yeah, looking at the opportunities out there, I think people should be prepared to. Are you ready? If you saw an opportunity, what's the reality of happening out there in the market at the moment? Yesterday, I was negotiating a deal. It was a great deal. $1.3 million for a block of 6 units for my clients. I've got some other ones. I've got one at the moment, which is $455,000 for 6 units, right? So it's like $80,000. So they get really cheap for blocks of units. But this one was a decent block of units. Each one was 100 grand below market value. So I had it for 1.3, and it was worth at least $2.2 million. I knew it was going to get heated, so I went in unconditional. Here's 10% deposit. 4 weeks settlement, whatever, we'll make it happen. And went into that. The price was 1.35 or something. And that property ended up going for 1.5 over the asking price, 150K over the asking price. And by the end of it, I'd been on the phone call for about 13 times in 2 hours. I hung up on the agent and I said, get fucked to the agent. So with that property went $200,000 over the asking price. I'm seeing like probably the last 2 to 3 months of negotiated, signed contracts on deals, right? My clients have signed contracts on about 300 properties, and we've lost probably 200 properties per month. So 2/3 of deals that we accept the price, get a contract, say yes to the deal. By the time we sign that contract, get it back. It might be a period of 6 hours, might be a period of 3 hours. Negotiate the deal, get a client to go onto it, send the contract, sign it, pay the deposit, get it back to the agent. In that period of time, deal's gone. Someone else is coming and paid over the asking price. So that's what's happening out there. And you've all probably got similar sort of experiences out because it's very hot markets out there. The news is now coming out saying we're in a new property boom, right? With the highest interest rates. So if we're in a new property boom and we've got the highest interest rates of a decade, what's going to happen when those interest rates reverse and they reverse monetary policy and the rates come crashing down? What's going to happen in the market then? People can get in there. If all you guys watching this video wanted to buy a property, why aren't you buying a property at the moment? Most people are like, I don't have the deposit, I don't have the loan, I don't have the servicing. There's probably 70% of you guys that are watching this. The other 30% are like, oh, I'm just learning about property, whatever the case may be. So if you've got that amount of people that want to do but they can't do, what happens when monetary policy shifts and everyone can go into that market? It's going to get heaps hotter. So if you have a glitch over a period of 1 or 2 months where there's less people out there, it becomes very fun, and that's where opportunities are. And that's where I think it's important to go through we can talk about 12 days of Christmas, but the real reality of the 12 days of Christmas is where am I going to get my bargains and how am I going to build my portfolio? If you're finding it hard to build the portfolio, well then this period, go ahead and be active. Do the deals that you need to do. Let's go have a little sip of water. But yeah, most years what I'm finding, is there is a lack of buyers out there. Last year there was still a consistent amount of buyers, and it could possibly be that this year. But if it's not, if you can do that deal where the agent's like shit, because you've got to think about it. Everybody's doing it. If everyone's doing it tough, we're not seeing a crash. I don't believe that we're going to see the crash, but I'd love if we saw a crash because I could pick up more things cheap. I wish everyone would disappear and I could just go and buy things and take out my baseball bat. I've got these really nice baseball bats. I'm not into sports, but they're just nice little baseball bats. Imagine taking the baseball bat, give me another 50K, give me another 50K. I don't want to be in markets where I'm dealing with, the price has gone up 100 grand over the asking price or 50K over. But it's finding those opportunities. So just be mindful. Like you could be like, oh no, I'll worry about it in the new year. I'll wait until next year, or it's Christmas soon. Let's just get through that. Well, that's what most people are saying, right? So if you can do different to what most people are doing, the opportunities are there. So yeah, looking at it, if you wanted to get yourself ready, like and go out at Christmas time and be like, hey, I want to pick up a bargain. I want to take my baseball bat and beat a vendor up and get the price cheap. I know it's tongue in cheek, but I'm sure someone will probably get politically correct about it if they see this somewhere else. But you just, let's say it's Christmas Eve, you find the deal of the lifetime, right? Deal of the lifetime's out there. What are you going to do? Do you have your finance sorted out? Do you have the deposit sorted out? Do you have confidence to be able to make that deal and go, yep, I'll sign a contract for you? If you don't, there's the whole stem of things that happened before that. And I think it's fitting now that we talk about it because you've really only got a month left to prepare yourself for it. You need to make sure that you are finance ready. You need to make sure that you've got access to capital. You need to make sure you've got your deposit ready. If you don't, you might have equity sitting in your property and you're just like, oh, I'll worry about it next year. Well, you're going to worry about it then and miss out on opportunity. So I think getting yourself finance ready is probably the biggest thing, and just be mindful of it. Like any challenge out there, like any war that's won, like any, it's a game of skill, and it's a game of understanding the battlefield that you're on and understanding the parameters of what you're playing with out there. So yeah, if you're thinking of trying to get into the market, because it is hard out there, because there's lots of buyers out there, get yourself ready. And this next little window of 2 months, 3 months is probably the best time of the year to be out there buying. So that's the whole part of tonight's conversation is to get yourself ready. I'm going to go to your questions and answer them in here and have a bit of a chat on that. Nate says here, do the opposite of everyone else because that's where the opportunities are. Exactly. Greg says, Birchie got the perchy in the veggie garden. Yes. So those of you that maybe 6 months ago, I shared with you guys my aquaponics setup. I did a little video of that. And I've got some perch and trout in my garden, but hundreds of them, aquaponic setups. And maybe I can do a video on that one day. I'm building a massive orchard at the moment with 200 fruit trees. I've got to fill in pipes for water flow through the yard so I can level it off. 15 acres of fruit and veg so I can control my own supply chain. But that's that. Major banks are offering me private banking rates due to total portfolio debt, good or bad in your view. Always look at the terms, what the bank's offering you. Quite often when they do that, they'll take a GSA, which is the general security, like a caveat over your whole portfolio, over your business potentially, and try and stitch your old fella to your leg and make sure you can't move that far. So be very conscious when the structure, the terms and conditions of those facilities. But if you can get a private bank, you can get a bank built swap. That would be great. If you could lower the spread that you're paying, the better. And especially as interest rates fall, I believe, looking at the discounts that we're seeing out there, if interest rates were to go back to where they were a year ago, a lot of people would be at 1%, in the 1%, so 1.99, 1.89, that sort of thing, because of the size of the discounts there. So a lot of people are looking at valuing that discount in its full capacity, because there might be the difference between 5.5% or 6.5%, and yours still 5.5% or 6.5% or whatever the interest rate might be. But when rates drop and go back the other way, that's where you're going to go and pick up big time. Do you think the war is going to make interest rates go down? It's all coming down to inflation. They need a linchpin. They need something to go, okay, it was because of that. And they have all these little things. They're losing power. This is a game like we see. It's Ukraine and Russia. It's like Putin's a bad guy. It's like they're all actors. They all sit at the same table. They all go to the same places. If you really wanted a war, imagine if you found your biggest enemy, right? Someone had crucified everyone in your town, your village, wherever, and you got to sit with them at a table. Would you just be sitting there going, oh yeah, let's have what are we going to do? You wouldn't be having those conversations, right? These political meetups wouldn't be like that. You'd be saying like, maybe it's where I'm from, and I don't think I'm from a place where these guys would have the capacity. But it's like it's all staged. They're blaming things. They blame, is it Russia or Putin or Ukraine or China or this or that or the next thing? It's a power struggle. It's a change of the guard. It's a fall of an empire. People go, oh, America's a superpower. America's never a superpower. They never were. Let's just say it was taken from Great Britain. If you look at the turn of the century in the 1900s, Great Britain was like America is today, but Great Britain took a back seat and they made the US and they built the US up. And then they've crashed out over the last 30, 40 years and everyone's like, oh, America's great, but they're starting to see that there's nothing left of it. Then you look at China, and everyone's going, oh, China's a bad guy, right? But China deserved it. They earned it because they had the system and they had the opportunity installed into China. And that's why China is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger constantly as such a change of guard, the power. The question that I always ask is, who was the one that delivered that system from Great Britain to USA and then taken it off USA and given it to China? I want to know that person, right? I want to know that entity. I want to know that group of people. So people might be sitting here thinking, oh, the war or whatever the case might be. Yeah, I don't think it's going to play in anything. We just had you would have thought it would have been the biggest depression in the world because everyone was locked in their house for 2 years and forced to, do certain things they didn't want to have to do. They didn't go to work, and there's a lack of people out there to be able to work now because they didn't want to participate in that. But reality is we had the biggest boom ever, and that was from inflation. The reason why we had inflation is because we had money printing. The reason why we had money printing was based on cheap, easy, accessible credit. And I think that as soon as we start seeing some more cracks, and those cracks are out there. I said at the start of the year, I don't care what the interest rates are at the start of the year. I care what they'll be at the end of the year. And it may be a day too early, but it's better to be a little bit early. So I just got a drink. Someone at the door, but it was the cleaners that come in, clean the office. But looking at Mark makes a very interesting point here. This is more important than any war or anything like that. The uninversion of the inverted yield curve. So it's been a while since I shared with you some charts and stuff. But what an inverted yield curve is. So I'm going to draw a yield curve here on the back of my notes. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. So we've got 3 month, 12 month, 2 year, 3 year, 5, 10 year. So this is how a yield curve should look. So we've got, what is a yield curve? These lights flickering so bad, so bad. So what is an inverted yield curve? So the bond yields out there that interest rates get based upon and money is traded on and the debt is created on the system. The 3 month is a short-term lend. So if you just pretend that the bond yield market is your fixed term interest rates. You go to the bank, you put your money away for 3 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. If you locked it away for 3 months, you'd expect to see a smaller return for locking it away for 3 months than if you had to lock it away for 5 years or 10 years. So on that basis, at 3 months, you'd get a lower interest rate. 12 months, you get a higher interest rate. 2 years, you get a higher. 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years. So the longer you put it in, the higher the interest rate should be. But before a recession comes and when liquidity draws out, then you have the 3 month getting a higher interest rate and a 10-year getting a lower interest rate. And that is called an inverted yield curve, where you're getting, instead of getting the interest rate that way, you're getting the interest rate, it's hard to see, drawing here the opposite way. So a 3 month bond would be paying higher than a 10-year bond. And that's what we have seen over the course of the last 18 months. So as there's been increasing interest rates, it's been a pool of liquidity, which has caused more of the funds to go to the shorter term bonds from a risk perspective, and it inverts the yield curve and people are running to the shorter term lens and the longer term lens. What we're seeing currently occur is that yield is getting back to where it should be in the reversal. And out of the last 14 times that there's been a yield curve inversion, there's been 13 major recessions that have occurred. So it doesn't invert that often. And when it does invert, generally 18 months after that, you'll see it go back to normal. But that's because the whole economy is jammed up and liquidity is drawn and everyone's screwed, right? It's like playing musical chairs with the lights off and the music's going around the chairs, a light comes on and the music stops and you go and look for a chair, everyone just scratch their head going, where the fuck are all the chairs? Where did all the liquidity go in that system? So looking at the system at the moment, as Mark said there, the uninversion of the yield curve, so it's reversing its monetary policies out there. It will be needed for the central banks to operate accordingly to that. So I would expect that we are on the eve of that big crash. And whilst everyone's going out there going, who's the Kardashian that is the hotter one or had more makeup today or facial surgery, who is going to win a war. Is it going to be Ukraine or Russia? Is it going to be Palestine or Israel? Is it going to be whoever? People are distracted from the fact of, we're all being robbed here, right? People are dying. Bad things are happening, but it's like, who are the controls of that? That's the question we should all both be looking at. And what moves are they doing? Because I've seen a few of you guys in here saying BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, these companies, these big, large hedge funds around the world are actually buying up the properties which no one's questioning. Right? So who's our buyer? When you look at new housing estates now, someone said beforehand, what do I see happening in the future with the land and builds? Do I see a 40-year mortgage? Well, they could, right? They would just have a perpetual mortgage over the life of it, which is basically what most people end up doing now. But the most important and interesting thing is these new land estates are coming out with 99-year leases. So it's perpetual leases and intergenerational leases of 99 years. So you get a lease over the land owning company would own the land and retain the ownership over the land, but you pay a small lease fee for the land. You build your house on it, and if you want to sell it, you just sell the lease, and that becomes cheaper. But it's just another layer of less ownership that people will have. And there's a reason why you're called the landlord, the lord of the land, and that goes back to common law. And I'll go deep into rabbit holes about the outruling of land ownership going back a couple hundred years ago, before the introduction of the Magna Carta, but it's looking at being the landlord. You want to be able to control, and a lot of people, what things can they manipulate? This whole thing, right? We think we own all our properties. I think I own hundreds of properties. Great, I've got no debt on any of them, right? I don't own them, right? When you sign the contract, it's interesting. I actually had a chat with my legal team the other day about it, right? We're just having a bit of a laugh about the wild and wacky world that we live in. And when you sign your contract, on the front of your contract, it says tenants in common or joint tenants, right? So two people buy it, husband and wife, spouse, whatever, right? Got to be very open nowadays. But whoever's buying the property, are you a tenant in common? Are you a joint tenant? When you are buying the property, you are not buying the property. You are a tenant of the property. The Crown owns it, which is the UK or the royal entity over our land. So you're merely controlling the assets during your tenure of life. So it's just how deep do we want to look at it? Sorry if I've gone too far deep on that front. Luke says, is the Mountains Hotel your biggest project to date? Feel like it has been a long time in the making. Got lots of projects. If we look at my biggest properties, I've got far bigger properties than the Mountains Hotel. As for my biggest renovation, that would definitely be my biggest renovation, for those of you that are not aware of it. Maybe my marketing team can share some of the videos. I've been recording lots of content from that motel over the years. Not all of it I've shared, just lots of little videos and things that are happening out there. But I've got a big, about 3,000 square metre building that I've been renovating. It's got like 40 motel rooms in there. Going to be the newest and coolest motel in the Blue Mountains that'll be opening up very shortly. And I've basically rebuilt the whole building. You can't build. I was actually looking at some stats the other day on that. And over the course of the last decade, tourism numbers have almost tripled in the Blue Mountains. Our population has gone up and doubled or whatever. So we've got more tourists traveling around. But the land locked in that area, it's a very weird location in the Blue Mountains. They don't allow any development. They don't even allow people to renovate. They don't do anything. And I was pushed through. I'm doing like for like. I'm just a little person doing their own personal renovation. So it's not stuff that needs to tick off on DAs and stuff like that. I'm just repairing the building that was there. So all the other motels that are out there, they can't build another motel like it, whatever. So it's pretty exciting, and I think it's going to be very, very profitable when it gets to that point. But it's been a long time coming. I've owned that property now for over a decade. But yeah, it's going to be the coolest thing in the Blue Mountains. So keep an eye out on that. Zach says here, I want the banks to blow up ASAP. Really keen for them to print. Next time they print, it'll be more than 15 trillion. 100%. And I like your logo there, mate. It's good. Nate says, I need next steps combo Birchie, but not interested in talking to your team, of course. Really awesome. Must be direct with you, otherwise I'll keep going on my own. Look, I don't pick up the phone and answer the phone when clients and investors want to come on board. There is a process there. You need to speak to my team. However, one thing I can say is when I do build the portfolios for my investors, whenever you see all the stories about my investors with 10 properties, 20 properties, 30 properties in a year, and I just did an event where I had I pull up a few people to share their stories and what they've done in the last few years, whatever. I actually don't think I share them enough with you guys in the community. But I've got hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have got double-digit portfolios that have been able to build in 2 years, 3 years, whatnot. I don't have a photographic memory, but my memory is pretty much photographic memory. So all the data that I have over the years of the business, I still remember the deals that I've done, the price that I've paid, and I can tell my investors their portfolios before they can tell me their numbers. So when it comes to building the portfolios, I personally do all the acquisitions, I personally do all the buying, I personally do all the advice, and I personally give all the guidance to my investors. So every single person that comes onto the business and buys a property, I'm the one that's buying the property, talking to them about their property portfolio, telling them what asset I believe that they should be buying for their portfolio. So yeah, if you do want to, don't be like, hey, I'm not going to talk to you, Tim, I only want to speak to Birchie. You will speak to me if you do come on board. That's what I do, is I spend my time working with my investors to build their portfolios. So my team don't do the buying, they don't give you the strategy. I do the strategy with you and help you build that portfolio, but they're there to help us communicate, because I can't, I've got to focus on the things that I'm really good at. So yeah. Hank says here, speaking of actually owning your assets, you got any Bitcoin? Yes, I bought into Bitcoin at $500 and $1,000 a piece. I know how money works, I know how the system works. I wanted to create something. I was talking to one of my mates in about 2013. I was going, no, look at the Currency Act of 1959. And if you look at the Currency Act of Australia, just before it turned from pound to pence, the imperial system and the metric system, there's certain things, right? Look at a gold coin, it's $100. If you look at an ounce of gold, that is. If you look at an ounce of silver, it's $1. It's the nominal value. If you look at a kilo of silver, it's $30, which really is like 32.15 ounces in a kilo. And I looked at it and I was like, hang on a second, I could actually utilize those assets of that, just if we could have verifiable, putting in video cameras, weighted shelves, all different things to make these things. I create my currency, which would probably get shot on. I actually had the discussions, not on my phone with my friends. It was like, hey, Men in Black will come and get you, right? And I had this great idea. And then about 6 months later, 12 months later, I was at a pub on the Gold Coast. We were having a holiday, and he's telling some chick, oh, I've got this card, and you can put these Bitcoins in it, and they go up in value, and you can spend them. And I was like, mate, that sounds like a scam. Don't do that, whatever. And I didn't even know what it was, and it was probably the biggest mistake I realised, because then like 6 months later, they'd gone up and doubled, and that's what I got into, about $500 or $1,000 a coin, and I was like, wow, this thing doubled overnight. It sounds like a Ponzi scheme. Let's go and have a look at it. And when I went down that rabbit hole, I was like, what did I just buy? And I realised that it was something that could bring peace and prosperity like never seen beforehand. However, it's very corrupted. Like when you buy a Bitcoin, yes, you own the Bitcoin, yes, it's great, but people don't understand how to use it, what to use it for. They're holding on to it, and the market is very controlled, just like all of the markets out there. So I'm pretty knowledgeable on that space, but I wouldn't think it's the Lord Saviour though either at the same time. So I think it's good. I'm not anti it, and I've certainly got a lot of love for it. Ricky says, I was going to invest with you mid-year, but your accountant never rang me back. Ricky, I apologise on that front. I'm going to get my team I'm going to make a little note here right now to get someone to organise that chat. So I apologise by that. I don't know what has happened with that communication. Andrew says here, the event was incredible, very inspiring stories from all your clients. Great to see their journey. Thanks, Andrea. Awesome that you were there. Do you see rents still going up? Yes. Every month. If I look at my team, like in Queensland, I'm in Queensland, in Western Australia, and New South Wales. In Queensland specifically, I in every corner of the state. Right? They've got people on the ground. They've got a very large business over there, right? And I make sure that the team send me every month their rental increases, what their thoughts are, so I can have a look at what their thoughts are, look at the properties, and then I personally go through them and add my adjustments. Sometimes I'm like, cool. And then probably 80% of them I'm like, cool. But then I see, okay, this one here, no, that needs to go up another $50. This one, another $30. This one, another $80. And I personally am the one that's doing those rent increases for my investors. And it's very, very exciting seeing what's out there. I don't see any of it slowing down. I think that we can keep pushing that out because, and there's got to be a ceiling to it, but it depends where inflation is going to as well. Everything's going up in value, so it's just a loss of our currency. So it's a great thing because it's the basement. You're paying out today's debt with tomorrow's devalued currency, which when everyone gets their head around that, it's very, very exciting. Sharma says, a bit off topic, but do you stop and celebrate your wins? I've realised it's so hard to get away from the grind and enjoy the wins. Any tips? Well, it's not off topic. Like, I think that's very fitting. I used to do it a lot, but nowadays I'm just like it's like if you take your eye off the ball, then I've seen so many people that get to a level of success and then they go out and their lifestyle changes. And when they stop doing what they did to become successful, then they just go backwards, right? It's constantly never a state of going backwards. So one thing to get ahead, and then there's another thing to stay ahead. And you need to keep doing what you're doing to keep pushing forward and be ahead. So I think every day, I'm very blessed in life, and the blessings that I have in life are based on the choices that I've made. And I've seen times when the choices may not be as smartest, right? I've seen times where I used to go out and celebrate a lot, and I look at it now and it's like I'll settle one day I spoke to one of the motel brokers I deal with, and I settled 4 motels in a month, and I was like, and there was like it's clunky, right? Settling 4 motels in a month, it's a pretty big thing. And I remember asking, like, how many people have you ever done? He goes, I've only ever done 2 transactions in a year for someone. I'm like, 2 transactions in a year, right? I just did 4 in a month, right? And I did like 15 in a year. But when I see that, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I give myself a little high five. But I'm always pushing myself to the next level. And it's just a game. I see it as a game. So in the early days, it was more of a win. But it's like nowadays, it's like driving a car, just second nature. So it depends and define, like along the way, there's different levels that you'll rise up to. You'll be like, yeah, cool, I've got to push through that one, I've got to push through that one. And the more levels that you push through, I think it's important to acknowledge that. But don't let it, you have to get up the next day and go again and keep pushing yourself. So, yeah, but everyone's position is different. So what have we got here? Put some other. We're lucky Nathan takes time to help so many people with his own properties. He's always busy, always takes the team. It takes a team to do work for it smoothly. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. And keep pushing with your goals and dreams. Tanya, we're doing some work and coming back to you. Sorry, I missed the event. That is okay. I saw your partner there, and we had a bit of a chat, and I said to say hello to you. So I hope all is well. Luke, Birchie, are the brokers roughly the same, or can they tweak and push things just case by case? I feel that mine unnecessarily says no based on what others are doing. Luke, look, brokers are not all the same. It's based on their skill set of what they can do. It's just like any profession out there. Yes, the bank has parameters, but it's like, how about we stack it this way? How about we stack it that way, right? Lots of people make good hamburgers out there, but there's only one McDonald's with the size of what they are. Macca's isn't just a hamburger, it's a supply chain, it's an education system inside, getting teenagers in there and stuff like that. So as an investor, you need to look at someone that's got the skills to be able to build a McDonald's portfolio for you, not just a little corner store hamburger shop. So as for a broker, everyone's skill sets are different. I spoke to one client today, and my team, I've got like a dozen staff in my brokerage, maybe like 15 staff in the brokerage team, and we're awarded as Australia's #1 broker, of course, and I can bang on about how we are. But I spoke to someone, and it's always about learning. And we have this client which has a more strategic sort of position. I'm not going to go into any of that position, but just the way that the business was set up, it was like their accountant knew a different way that the bank would take it. So it's like, well, maybe that bank in the back end is best to be there. And it's like, everybody's position is different. It's like tweaking and finding and researching. I always see, let's put it this way, there's less than 20,000 people in the country that have 6 or more properties in their portfolio. Most only have 1 or 2 if they have an investment property. So what is the difference between the ones that have 1 or 2 or the ones that have 10 or 20 properties in their portfolio? Most people stop buying property because they can't service. So one part is the servicing, the other part is the asset selection and making sure that that's helping you service along the way. So that's where every second person that I deal with has on 10, 15, 20 properties, because the strategy of accumulation is in line with the finance strategy. The finance strategy has to be in place to get them to where they need to be. So yeah, no 2 brokers or banks are the same. Mikey says here, can't wait for my place to sell and get scrolling too fast here. Get some of those last deals you sent through are gold. Awesome, mate. Whenever you're ready to help you kick ass. Rob says here, property prices are raising around Logan, Eagleby area. Do you see that going up in the next 6 to 9 months? 6 to 9 months is too short. But I think there's a lot more room for all these markets to go. If interest rates drop, just think about it this way, if interest rates drop 3%, if people are paying 6% interest rate and it drops down to 3%, that means that the mortgage drops in half. If people can now afford to pay the current mortgage interest rate, when the interest rate drops in half, that means that the property price could double and people could still afford to pay the previous price. So when it drops, what's going to happen to prices then? So I've never met someone that's happy that they sold a property 10 years ago. Most people are like, I wish I sold more. I wish I bought more properties. I wish I didn't sell, etc. So if you're going to sell to make a sideward step and get 2 steps ahead, well then that's a different story. But I think that if we look back in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, it's Greg says here, personal name or discretionary trust, you reckon? I own all of them. There's different pros and cons to that. I normally give my thoughts one-on-one because everybody's position is different, and I'm not really an accountant or a lawyer, but there's pros and cons to all of that. Most of my investors have got like 10, 15, 20 properties in their portfolio. They don't even have a trust. So they can be beneficial and they can be negative for pushing forward in that portfolio. So Satish says, hi Nathan, my serviceability is around 300,000. How do I continue to buy and build a portfolio? Good question. So let's just say, I'm just going to use a rough example here, right? Someone goes to the bank says, you can borrow $300,000. I'm just going to make up numbers here. I don't know your position at all, but say 100 grand income, whatever your expenses, you can borrow 300 grand. Let's say you go to the bank and you borrow 300 grand. Let's say you buy 2 properties you got 100 grand cash and you get a 300 grand loan. And this could be with a big 4 bank. So you could technically buy 400 grand worth of property, 20% deposit, 300 grand loan, 400 grand worth of property. You buy 400 grand worth of property, but the bank system doesn't realize that you could buy a property for 200 grand, the rent's for $400 a week. So you buy 2 properties at 200 grand, the rent $400 a week. So it's $800 a week income. $800 a week income by 52 weeks would be $40,000 a year, rough numbers. So your income is no longer $100,000. Your income is now $140,000. So when you go back to the bank goes, here, you've got some debt here, added to our system, you can now service for another 200 grand. So you go, cool, I'm going to buy another property. So most people come to me, they're like, I can only service. Well, that's what you can service today based on your income. But we need to make sure that your rental income far exceeds what your personal income is, so we can build that stream of income up. So then, you've got 100 grand rent, you've got 100 grand income, you've got 200 grand here, you've got $1 million worth of debt, but we need to expand that rental income. So we can really big time work on that. So I've seen a couple other questions up here before him, but they may have gone. I think they've gone. Too many questions coming through, like 74 comments. So that's awesome. So thanks for the interaction, everyone, today. On that note, sometimes leaving an hour is really cool. Sometimes I'll drag on and talk about a lot of things, but I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to thank everyone for tuning in, whether it's Tuesday night you're watching this or whether it's another day that you're watching this or listening to this, wherever you are. Thanks a lot for tuning in. If you do want help on your position, there is a link in the comment section wherever this is on your video. Go and click on the link, reach out to my team, have a chat with them. I do all the strategy in the back end of the business. I work one-on-one with my investors to build out their portfolios. So, yeah, speak to my team, see what they can do. I've got a very, very experienced team, and they specialize. Like my clients don't get to 10, 20 properties by chance. They don't wake up, they're like, yeah, I've got the, don't know what to do. I was just sitting in bed and that's what happened. They had the team around to get there. So reach out to my team, have a chat with them, and happy to help wherever we can. Just remembering, as the topic of discussion, I feel like I talked a lot about your questions and answers, which I'm really excited that I got to interact with you guys tonight. So thanks for that. I spoke a lot about the start of don't trust the media, it's all a scam, and all that sort of stuff. The main crux of today's conversation I want to talk about was preparing yourself for Christmas. Like, the market is very hot out there. A lot of people are finding it difficult to buy assets because everything's going up so hard with inflation. This is the opportunity out there. So get yourself prepared from a finance perspective. Get yourself prepared mentally. Be like, yeah, cool, I've got some goals I need to hit. Let's go make them before the end of the year. Because most people out there getting drunk, focusing on the wrong things, and it's important to feel prepared. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll catch up soon. Have a great evening. Keep being awesome. Bye for now.